Okay, constellations of the zodiac. You've all heard of zodiac, zodiac, zodiac. We mentioned that before too. Remember, zodiac was that strip of space where the planets are in. And people usually talk about zodiac, they're probably referring to the horoscope somehow in their mind. Okay, zodiac, oh yeah, they look at the horoscope, they look at what their future will be like. So let's try to understand what this is all about. There are 13 constellations of the ecliptic. These are the constellations that the sun's path, the ecliptic, goes through. Remember, I told you that the ecliptic is this line here. Through the course of the year, as the Earth is going around the sun, right? When we look at the sun seems to project a path on the celestial sphere, and this is the ecliptic. And then as the sun is doing this, there are constellations that it goes through. So for example, there is, Taurus is here, So let's say the Taurus, each constellation will have a boundary. And then the next constellation, Gemini. Gemini is here. So depending on how many months the sun is inside of the boundary of that constellation, we say the sun is going through that constellation. So there might be another constellation like, here, so on. So some of them, the sun is not going to last in that boundary as long as the other one. Okay? So how many of them are there? There should be 13 of them on this path. They are traditionally called constellations of the zodiac. So the constellations of the ecliptic, a lot of people confuse that and they call them constellations of zodiac, but they should technically be called constellations of ecliptic. And they are used for astrological purposes. Astrologers go crazy over this, where are you born? Okay, so depending on that, your sign is this. So therefore, you're going to become a lawyer or whatever, you're going to marry this and you're going to do that. So notice there's something weird here. There's an extra 13th constellation, okay? The ones that we know of, the typical one, the horoscope, there's 12 of them. There's a 13th one called Ophiuchus. Where is that? See here, Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer. On the picture, it kind of looks like it ends there. But if you draw its boundary, the boundary of Ophiuchus, it probably looks something like that. So therefore, the sun crosses the boundary for a little bit. You got to give that constellation its due respect. It's kind of like you driving from here to New York, let's say, and along the way you go through different states. Well, it might be that one of the states you don't really go through the full middle of the state, you go through a portion of the state, and you're there for 6 hours. But you still got to do your, due respect to that state. You say, I had to go through Colorado State, let's say, and I was there for 6 hours, and I went in, ate in a diner or something, and if they collect taxes as you cross the border, then maybe you have to pay taxes or whatever, but you're still in that state for a little bit, right? So the sun is going through that constellation for a little bit of time. Now, there are 24 constellations of the zodiac. The zodiac is which one? Remember, the zodiac is this strip like that. We mentioned that earlier also. Zodiac. So what did we mention about the zodiac earlier when we talked about what is the zodiac? It's the strip of space up and below the ecliptic, right? What are always in the zodiac? The planets. Remember, I showed you the path of the orbit of planets, and I said they're very flat. So I said that's why when we look at the planets, they're always in that strip of space. So that means the planets are always here. So if a planet is here, it might catch a certain constellation that the sun doesn't go through. You see, let's say there's a constellation like this, and if a planet is there, the sun, falls below that constellation. You see, the sun is here. So the sun might not go through that constellation, but the planet might. So how many overall constellations are there that the planets go through? The planets are found in that strip of space, you see. The planets are always here. How many overall constellations are there where the planets are through? There are 24 constellations. Okay? 13 of those are the ones that the sun also goes through. Okay? So how many extra constellations are there? Watch my question very carefully. How many extra constellations are there that the planets go through that the sun doesn't? If the 13 of the 24, right, 13 of the 24 are already the constellations of the ecliptic, how many extra are there? 24 minus 13? 11. Okay, now let's go to the other chart that I asked you to download from my website, and we're going to take a look at these. Okay, so astronomical constellations of the ecliptic. According to the traditional zodiac, the horoscope, supposedly the sun goes through Aries from March 21 to April 19, roughly 30 days. So what they say is, if you're born during those months, that's your sign. You're an Aries. Why? Because the sun was going through that constellation when you were born. And then Taurus, April 20 to May 20, 31 days. Gemini, May 21 to June 21, 32 days. Cancer, 31 days. This is probably what you used for your horoscope, right? It's all wrong. Okay? First of all, you should already be suspicious about this, even without me telling you anything. Isn't it weird that the sun takes equal number of days to go through all 12 constellations? It's like you driving from here to New York and spending equal number of days in every single state as you're crossing them. It's very hard to do. You got to really plan out that journey, you know. In some states, you're going to be maybe many more hours, and then in other states, you're barely going to skim them, right? So here's the correct ones. Now, be ready to change your sign after you see this. This is the actual one. Pisces, March 12 to April 18, 38 days. Aries, April 19 to May 13, 25 days. Taurus, May 14 to June 19, 37 days. See, very uneven number of days, very uneven. September 16, October 30, 45 days, and then Libra. Now you got the 13th extra one squeezed in between Scorpius and Ophiuchus. You see Ophiuchus? November 30 to December 17, 18 days. Sagittarius, December 18 to January 18, 32 days. Capricorn is 28 days. Now it says, note, 45 days are in agreement with the traditional. So out of the 365 days during the year, only 45 days between the traditional and the correct one agree. That means most of you now have to change your sign. Who has to change their sign? See? Yeah. Now, most of you now have to change your careers. You have to probably drop this class, all right, because you were taking this class on your sign. Okay, so now, when I show people this list, they really go crazy because they say, oh my gosh, now I know why I've been dating the wrong people in my, why have a bad job, I hate my job. It's as if we should even be following those things, you know. So now the other thing is, did anyone end up in this extra 13th one? Birthday in that one? Then you have no future for you. No, if you end up there, there is nothing about you that we can say. It's not in the horoscope. The funny thing here is Scorpius, November 23 to November 29. Only 7 days. See here, Scorpius is right here. Scorpius is here. So apparently, when you draw the boundary of Scorpius, the sun barely skims that. It's kind of like me saying you're driving from here to California to New York. You barely go through the state of Colorado. You know, so you barely skim. So it's only there for 7 days. You see. Then it comes the extra 13th constellation, Ophiuchus. Wow. So the other thing that makes me see that this is correct is that the days, over here the days are so artificial. 2020, 2020, they always start on the 20th and end on the 20th, roughly. Here, the days are very random. May 14, June 19, June 20, July, August 9th. You see how it's so arbitrary? That's the way it should be, you know. So these are the 13 constellations of the ecliptic. What are these? These are the 24 constellations that the planets go through. 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 6, 6. That's 24. Okay? Now, how many should there be in this list that the sun doesn't go through? 24 minus 13 is what? 11, right? So try to find them. Put a check mark next to 11 of these that do not fall in that list. You can put them check mark right now. You should be able to find 11 of these here. Aquarius, of course, no, it's in that list. Aries, is it in that list? Yeah, it's a famous one. Auriga. Okay, Auriga for the check mark. So that means Auriga is probably up here or down here. The sun doesn't go through it, but the planet does. It's probably on the either above the ecliptic or it's a little below. Then you go Cancer, it is. Canis Minor? No, that's the little dog, Capricornus, it is, and then so on. Did you find 11? So it's going to be Auriga, Canis Minor, that's 2. Cetus, Corvus, Crater, that's 3 of them right there. Okay. Hydra, so that's 4. 4 and 2 is 6. And then what else? Orion is 7. Pegasus, is it in that list? No, it's 8. Scudum, 9. Serpens, 10. Sextans, 11. Other ones, the sun also goes through. Those are the 11. Okay? So as far as the quiz on Monday, if I give you a list of constellation and I say which of this is a constellation of the ecliptic, just you have to only remember that those 11 are not part of the ecliptic. They are part of the zodiac, but they are not the part of the 13 constellations of the ecliptic. Okay, so that's the only thing that I'm going to test you on this sheet is I'm just going to test you to see which one, if you know which 11 do not fall in part of the 13. I am not going to test you on the dates, on the days. You don't have to memorize that. That's too hard.